Hi, welcome to Coffee with Ken. Have you ever done something you thought was right, but it was wrong?
Oh my goodness.
It turned out to be wrong.
Yes.
Like, has that ever happened?
It has.
Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about. Welcome to Coffee with Ken. We're here with Ken Brown, CEO of Destiny Global, and Butch McCracken, who is General Manager here at Destiny Global. And I am Dr. April Brown, and I am coach and coach trainer here and Executive Vice President of the coaching program. So we want to talk about that. And we were talking previously about some things that Butch was having, he was trying to think of some things that he might have done where he thought it was right, but it was wrong. And I'm like, do you want the list? We can give you.
Yeah, friends.
Well, I'll start off. Because it actually just happened. And so if you're tuning in, you can tell that I've got some interesting things going on because I know this camera is very sharp. So we recently had a First Steps event. When I got home, I needed to mow the property and get everything in order. We're going to be going to the memorial service for April's brother, Richard Patton, who got promoted to heaven. And we're going to go celebrate his life tomorrow, heading down that way. So I decided that I was going to go home and pick April up to film Coffee with Ken today. And so I texted, like as I was getting ready to leave. And so I get to the house and April's not there because somehow we missed each other on the way, and she's sitting in the office waiting on me to get back. Thought I was doing right, but I didn't communicate when it ended up being wrong.
And you were talking about doing you had to mow, and our mower went out, and so he brought
I just wanted to skip right over that for a moment.
A real tractor, and then he started it. So.
I did, and so red wasps decided they didn't like the tractor and started stinging me, and one got me right between the eyes and on my back and several other places. Yeah, it's just.
And then you had a stick that came up and that's the other red mark.
Yeah.
So
it's been an interesting week. Let's just say that. Yes.
But you got it done. You did.
I did. I persevered.
You persevered some serious obstacles there. So good job on that. It looks good because they don't look bad. I don't think our Airbnbers could have even found the house. That was
the field grass had gotten over 2
Right.
feet tall. It's crazy just how quickly with the rain that we had. So
One little rain.
totally off topic.
Yeah.
So I know Butch has a story that can go along with this, and this one is one for the ages.
Yeah, so there's sometimes when you chat with your spouse, a husband likes to use terms of endearment that he feels are terms of endearment and hasn't quite thought them all the way through. So there are times I use terms of endearment with my lovely bride, Diane. A couple examples. One was I'll go, "Oh, you're my sweet pumpkin." And she said, "Just what I want to be, fat and round." So I was like, all right, let me back up. "You're my zucchini." And I didn't go over either. But the best one was we were actually on our way to their house, and we're driving down the driveway to pull out onto the street. And I started to say, "Oh, honey, you're my tender." And I couldn't think of something. And I looked at my right. This was all free-flowing, real quick. I looked to my right. I saw a cactus, and I said, "Sweetheart, you are my tender cactus." And I had to do a lot of explaining about what I meant by that.
No, but then what were you?
I think she referred to me as the rose
The
that's
little flower
on the cactus. So we do try to use terms of endearment, but sometimes
come out right.
we have to think them through a little bit more, which I do. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We're going to do things that don't quite turn out the way we think
No.
that they are in our heads.
Totally.
It totally worked out. Like, it was like, man, this is amazing in your head, but it didn't quite.
No.
didn't land.
No, it didn't land very
No.
well. So,
We laughed all night about this, by the way, when
Yeah.
Diane
we even
didn't
had
find
a
it
whole
amusing
date
at first.
night about it
Yes.
because we ended up cooking cactus.
Yes, we
just
did.
to make a joke out of it.
Oh, that's right. That's true. We
yeah,
did.
we did.
But you know where all this starts is poor communication. Because thinking through what we're going to do, or even planning ahead of time and communicating so that you're not missing each other, driving by each other on the road, it really starts with good communication. Good communication skills can really make what you intended to be positive. So you get the result you hope for.
That's so true. And I don't think it's just before, because I was about to ask, like, what do you do in those situations? You had it in your head it was going to go one way, and then it does not get you the result that you wanted.
Totally.
So what do you do at that point? And I think it goes back to communication.
Yeah, you have
to afterward, how you communicate.
Yeah, you have to be able to then realize there could be a little bit of a response,
A kerfuffle.
And you can't take that personally because you've made it now about you.
Right.
It has to be about the other person. It's how they received it and how they interpret it. You don't know what caused that.
Right.
So sometimes it's hard because you mean it as a term of endearment. I love you, and with emotion, they didn't receive it that way. So you get hung up with, I just wanted to tell you that I loved you. You're now making it about you.
Yeah.
It has to be about how they felt. And then you can communicate properly through it.
Well, and it's owning it, right?
Yeah.
I should have thought about that before I said that, or I should have thought about that before I came on, which I did. April and I had a good talk, and because we're both processing a lot right now and just working through things. But it's also a sign of maturity and a person's capacity to handle things at different points in time. So it really is about communicating and knowing the situation and circumstances.
Yeah.
Because you can really get yourself into a real pickle thinking that you're doing something really good, and boy, it turns out really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I call it knowing your audience.
Yes.
Know your audience before you step into it.
Very true.
So the question is, do you want to be right, or do you want to be in right relationship?
Your goal is to be, hopefully, should be in right relationship.
Always in right relationship.
So
Being
it's
right.
about ego.
Yes.
And just letting go of that ego, like you said, and thinking about the person, that the way they took it was hurtful, and that you can respond accordingly.
But it directly ties into the law of decision, because I made a decision without communicating, and that's really what this is about, is making sure that you're communicating effectively when you make a decision, especially that affects other people.
Sure.
And it's just thinking through that. So
Yeah, it's really good. It's really powerful. Hopefully y'all got some tips today on how to maneuver those times when you think that you have done something right, and you in your head it is like, wow, that is gonna be so good, and then it just thump.
Yes.
It just lands like so poorly.
Don't drop the tender cactus.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now.
Just learn from.
But I'm gonna brag a little bit, because you made some good decisions at this last first steps on the community event, the social event. For those of you that were there, you can speak to it. If you didn't, you need to get there, because then we have a fantastic social event. We had it on Saturday night, and April had planned, and she got with Jen Ratchford and got everything planned out. And we went to Pinkerton's, and it was phenomenal.
Had some Texas barbecue that
Lots
is
of it.
so good.
But even the
So
gathering place, how you thought through everything. So that was a well-planned, thought-out decision that was communicated effectively, exactly what we were going to do, and it went down perfect.
Yeah.
It was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, there was a lot of outside room. There was even a band, which we didn't even know was going to be there. It was just a fun time.
So much energy, so fun.
And the majority of the people that were attending came because it was optional.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of them came because it's community. They love connecting and just sharing outside of a weekend, sitting in there and learning. Then they can share and be on a more personal level to get to know people.
Yeah, more than ever before, people really want that community. So it was really special. So hopefully you've gotten some tips today on how to do, and you've made you thought it was right, and it turned out wrong, and how to really correct that, weigh your ego, and to apologize, not necessarily for, you might have thought that it was okay, but it was hurtful to that person, consider their feelings, and we continue to pour in. Watch the page every single week. We have success tips for you for how to, and Coffee with Ken every single week. Our next event that everybody can come to have community is actually in January. Again, we have the first steps to success in January, so we have a little while the end of the year, but we want to always invite you to those. But stay here, stay tuned, like, share, tell all the people about this page so you can get more success tips and get plugged in.
That's so true. And for those of you that are have been to First Steps, we have Creating a Dynasty, which is
5 weeks from
it was, in fact, Melissa Hager was telling us it was 37 days from the time that we saw her till we'll see her again. Right here in San Antonio, the same hotel, same thing. And it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you've been to our First Steps, you're certainly invited. But April's correct. There is a First Steps coming up in January that is going to kick off the year in right style.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you make those resolutions every year, you don't keep them because you don't have the accountability. You don't have the people around you. You don't have continually people working on those things as well with you, encouraging you, speaking life into you.
Yeah.
It's it changes everything.
It does.
To really have that community.
So
and
true.
continue
So true.
that. So we'd love to have you to continue to be a part of that. Again, just like, share, and we'll see you all next time on Coffee with Ken. Thanks for being with us.
Indeed.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, gang.
Bye.